Welcome to Stories of Brave Mothers, a channel dedicated to telling real and touching stories of brave mothers from around the world.
Sometimes, the greatest stories aren't born from wealth or fame, but from a humble kitchen, an old phone, and a mother's determination to prepare her daughter for the world. Rachel and Lily had little money, but an unbreakable bond. Together, they decided to create a YouTube channel to teach values that time seemed to be erasing. What began as a modest project soon turned into a journey capable of changing not only their lives, but also the lives of thousands of others. But to get there, they had to face criticism, pain, debt, and decisions that would test just how far a brave mother can go for her daughter, and for the future. In the heart of a small town in rural America, where the crisp autumn wind carried the scent of dry leaves and mornings were always silent, lived Rachel Morgan, a brave mother of 39, and her 16-year-old daughter, Lily. They lived in a modest wooden house, its pale boards weathered by time, but always spotless and full of little touches of warmth, a vase of flowers by the window, framed photographs on the living room wall, and a soft blanket draped over the couch, which Rachel would weave little by little on the coldest nights. Rachel worked as a clerk at a small bakery in town. The pay was modest, and often, by the end of the month, the bills felt like an impossible puzzle to solve. Lily attended the local public school, dreaming of the day she could go to college and maybe study journalism or visual arts. Despite the hardships, there was an unbreakable bond between mother and daughter, a connection built over conversations at the kitchen table, long hugs, and laughter that somehow found its way in, even on the most exhausting days. But something weighed on Rachel's mind. She watched Lily grow up surrounded by a fast-paced world, where news flashed by in seconds, and social media decided what mattered. Rachel felt that values like empathy, respect, perseverance, and gratitude were slowly slipping away, buried under the constant noise of information and distraction. She remembered the stories her own mother used to tell, stories that shaped her character, and she could see those lessons fading. One cold November night, Rachel was washing the dinner dishes while Lily sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone with little interest. "What are you watching, sweetheart?" Rachel asked, drying her hands on her apron. "Oh, nothing special. Just some funny videos." Rachel smiled faintly but felt a pang in her chest. She wanted her daughter to be exposed to something deeper, something that could inspire and teach. That's when an idea began to take root. It wasn't planned, nor was it a sudden spark. It was more like a seed planted by love. Rachel walked over and said, "What if we created something together? Something that could share values with other people?" Lily frowned, surprised. "What do you mean?" "Stories," Rachel smiled. "We could tell stories that teach lessons, like Grandma used to tell me. Only this time, we record them and put them on YouTube." Lily laughed. "Seriously? On YouTube? We don't even know where to start." "Maybe we don't know everything," Rachel replied. "But I know how to tell a story, and I know we can learn the rest together." In the days that followed, Rachel began filling the pages of an old notebook with ideas, real-life stories of perseverance, adapted fables, and inspiring tales. Lily, still skeptical, slowly got involved. She had a knack for drawing and started creating small illustrations to go along with the narratives. Their first recording was pure improvisation, an old cell phone propped up on a stack of books at the kitchen table, lit by a bare lamp aimed their way. The image wasn't perfect, but there was something special in the way Rachel told a story, with pauses that drew you in and a voice that carried tenderness. The debut video was called "The Coin That Changed a Life," and told the story of a boy who, by returning a small amount of money he had found, ended up changing the life of a lonely old man. Lily played the child in the story, with a makeshift costume and spontaneous expressions. There were no elaborate cuts, no modern effects, but there was soul, and somehow that began to touch those who watched. At first, the views were few. Neighbors, friends, and relatives watched, left comments, and praised the message. But every week, without fail, mother and daughter sat down to plan the next video. Rachel noticed that Lily was more willing to talk about important topics. One day, after filming, Lily admitted, "Mom, these stories make me think differently. It's like I'm discovering things I never noticed before." Rachel's eyes welled up. That was exactly what she had hoped for. Even so, life kept testing their determination. Overdue bills, a car that wouldn't start, the fear that all their effort might be for nothing. But something inside Rachel told her to keep going. So, even when she came home tired from work, she'd sit down with Lily, pour them some coffee, and they'd write together. One Saturday afternoon, something unexpected happened. Lily came running into the kitchen, phone in hand. "Mom, look at this." A large, well-known motivational channel had shared their video, praising its sincerity and positive message. Within hours, the views skyrocketed, and messages began pouring in from people in other states. Some said the stories had brought them hope during difficult times. Rachel knew they were still far from living comfortably, but for the first time in a long while, she felt something was changing. Not just on YouTube, but inside their home. Lily was more confident, more thoughtful about her choices, more willing to listen and help. The channel was creating an impact that went far beyond the screen. And so, video by video, Rachel and Lily weren't just building a project. They were writing a new chapter in their lives. A chapter that would bring new challenges and tough decisions, and would test, more than ever, just how far a brave mother can go to protect and teach her daughter. The unexpected success of that shared video brought a breath of hope to Rachel and Lily, but along with it came a whole new world and challenges they had never imagined facing. The sudden spike in views meant more comments, more expectations, and more criticism. At first, Rachel was thrilled. She had never seen her daughter so excited, so invested. Lily started researching ways to improve their filming, looking up free editing apps, and learning how the YouTube algorithm worked. It was beautiful to watch that teenager, once so distracted by shallow videos, now immersed in learning new skills for something they were building together. But soon, the obstacles started showing up. The phone they used to record had a worn-out battery, no storage space, and a camera that was starting to glitch. More than once, a video froze mid-recording, forcing them to start over. Rachel tried to keep her sense of humor, but deep down she felt a quiet pressure. If they wanted to keep up the quality and seize the moment, they needed better equipment, and there was no money for that. On top of that, time became an enemy. Rachel worked 6 days a week at the bakery, waking up before sunrise. By the time she got home, she was exhausted, her back and feet aching. Even so, she sat down with Lily to review scripts and record. Many nights, filming went on until late hours, and the fatigue began to take its toll. The emotional pressure also grew. With visibility came cruel comments, people mocking Rachel's accent, saying the lighting was bad, or that the stories were silly. At first, Rachel tried to ignore it, but she noticed Lily was hurt. One night, she found her daughter quietly crying in her room. "They're right, Mom. Maybe I'm not cut out for this." Rachel sat on the edge of the bed, cupped her daughter's face in her hands, and said, "Lily, we're not here to please everyone. We're here to help the people who need to hear these stories. They're the ones we do this for." But while she tried to shield her daughter's heart, Rachel was fighting her own battles. The utility bills were overdue. The bakery wasn't offering a raise. and she knew she couldn't rely on the channel alone to change their lives. Still, she refused to quit. That's when the biggest test of resilience began. Early that summer, Rachel received a notice from their landlord. The rent was going up. The amount might have been small for some, but for them, it was enough to throw the entire budget off balance. "We could look for another place, Mom," Lily suggested. But Rachel knew moving would mean leaving the community they knew and making Lily's school commute longer. Between financial worries and the pressure to keep the channel alive, Rachel began to feel overwhelmed. One day, coming home from work, she found Lily in the kitchen going through a stack of papers. "What's that?" she asked. With a determined look, Lily replied, "I'm making a list of places we can record for free, with better lighting. We could go to the park, the library, even the grocery store where you work, if they let us." Rachel smiled. Even in the middle of hardship, she could see the lessons taking root. Lily was learning to find solutions, not excuses. But not everything could be fixed by determination alone. A few weeks later, a health problem caught Rachel off guard. A sharp pain in her right arm sent her to the doctor, who diagnosed severe tendinitis caused by repetitive strain at work. The recommendation was clear: cut back on her hours and avoid movements that could make it worse. That meant less money at the end of the month and more uncertainty about the future. Rachel didn't tell Lily everything right away. She didn't want to worry her. But her daughter noticed something was wrong when she saw her trying to hide the pain while carrying grocery bags. "Mom, what's going on?" Rachel hesitated, then told her. Lily was quiet for a few seconds before saying something her mother didn't expect. "Maybe it's time to focus more on the channel. What if we tried to make it a source of income?" The idea felt far too risky. Rachel feared relying on something so uncertain. But at the same time, things at the bakery were getting worse, and the bills weren't waiting. That's when they decided to take a bigger step, launching a Patreon page where followers could financially support the channel in exchange for exclusive content. It started small. Only a handful of people contributed. But those small donations made a difference. Enough to buy a simple microphone and improve the audio quality of their videos. It also allowed Lily to learn more advanced editing techniques, making the videos more engaging. Even so, real life kept tightening its grip. The rent increase took effect. The summer heat drove up the electric bill, and Rachel's tendinitis worsened. There were days when she seriously considered quitting, but whenever she was about to say it out loud, she remembered the comments from people who said the stories had helped them cope with grief, anxiety, and loneliness. And then, just when things seemed the hardest, an unexpected opportunity arrived. A school in another city emailed Rachel, inviting her to give a talk about the power of stories and the importance of family values. The invitation included a small payment and a chance to share the channel with more people. Rachel had never spoken in front of such a large audience before, but she accepted. The event was a success. She told stories, shared how the channel began, and spoke about the importance of teaching values, especially to young people. Lily, beaming with pride, filmed the whole thing to post on the channel. That talk didn't solve all their financial problems, but it reignited something essential, the belief that they were on the right path. What Rachel didn't know was that with this new visibility would come even bigger challenges, including one that could put everything they had built together at risk. The day of the talk seemed to mark a new chapter for Rachel and Lily. The channel was gaining more subscribers, messages of support were pouring in, and the energy between mother and daughter felt different. But as Rachel had already learned, life rarely offers a road without bumps. A few weeks after the event, they received an email from an educational products brand offering a paid partnership. The amount wasn't huge, but for them, it was a breath of relief. Rachel was excited, but cautious. It was their first time creating a sponsored video, and she wanted to be sure the message wouldn't get lost in the advertising. While preparing for this new stage, a serious problem appeared. A notification from YouTube saying one of their videos had been reported and taken down for alleged copyright violation. It was their most popular video, the one shared by the big motivational account, responsible for much of their growth. Rachel felt her heart sink. "This is a mistake, Mom. We made it all from scratch. Remember?" Lily said, her voice trembling. "I know, sweetheart. It must be an error. We'll appeal it." The appeal process was slow and bureaucratic. Meanwhile, views dropped immediately, and with them came discouragement. Rachel tried to hide her frustration, but she knew this blow could shake everything they had built. That's when the true climax of their journey began. The rent was late. The pain in Rachel's arm grew worse each day. The channel, once a source of hope, now seemed in danger. But instead of giving in to despair, Rachel decided it was time to fight with everything she had. She gathered Lily in the kitchen, the very place where it had all started, and said, "Sweetheart, remember why we started. It wasn't for numbers or fame. It was so you'd learn that the world needs people with strong values. And that's what we're going to keep doing, even if no one's watching." With teary eyes, Lily replied, "Then let's make our most beautiful video yet, one that shows everyone we're not stopping." And so, the idea for the video that would change everything was born. They called it The Invisible Bridge, a story about a young girl who, guided by her mother's lessons, builds an imaginary bridge to cross life's toughest moments. While Rachel narrated with almost tangible emotion, Lily created drawings and small animations to illustrate each scene. They worked for days, ignoring exhaustion, forgetting the pain and the bills. When the video went live, there was no instant explosion. But little by little, comments began to appear, from people saying they had cried while watching, that they felt less alone, that they wanted to show it to their children. One teacher wrote to say she would use the video in class to talk about resilience. Then, something happened that Rachel would never forget. A major education influencer in the United States shared the video, saying, "Every parent should watch this." In just a few days, the views skyrocketed. The previous video, the one that had been taken down, was finally restored after their appeal. It was as if the puzzle pieces were falling back into place. With the new wave of audience, the partnership with the educational brand was a big success. They not only paid for the sponsored video, but also offered a contract for a whole series of content. The channel began generating enough income to cover the rent increase, pay off overdue bills, and even invest in a new phone for filming. But the real treasure wasn't the money. Rachel saw it every time she looked at Lily. The girl who had once been insecure and distracted was now a creative young woman, committed and aware of the impact her actions could have. One day, as they set up equipment for filming, Lily said, "Mom, I know the channel changed our lives, but the most important thing is that it changed who I am. And that's priceless." Tears rolled down Rachel's cheeks. It was the confirmation that every effort, every struggle, every moment of exhaustion had been worth it. At the end of that year, they received an invitation to participate in a national event on education and digital culture in Washington, D.C. On stage, in front of hundreds of people, Rachel told her story about the humble beginnings, the hardships, and what it truly means to be a brave mother. It's not about never falling, but about getting back up every single time, even when it feels impossible. Back home, in that same kitchen where it had all begun, Rachel made hot chocolate for the two of them. They sat together, like so many nights before, and looked at the framed quote on the wall that Lily had written months earlier. "The world needs our stories." Rachel smiled. They hadn't just shared values with others. They had built a better life together. And they knew this wasn't the last story they would tell. just another chapter in a journey that still had so much ahead. If this story touched your heart, take a deep breath and remember, there's always room for love, courage, and the values that truly matter. Here on our channel, every video is like a warm hug, a reminder that together, we can change lives, just like Rachel and Lily did. So, if you want to keep experiencing moments like this, subscribe, leave a like, and share this story with someone special. Who knows? It might be the breath of hope they need today.